Good morning, everyone. My name is Sofia Marinas and I will be the first reporter for Group 7. So, ang title ng aming chapter is Decision Making and Reasoning. Judgment and Decision Making, the Conjunction Fallacy. The first topic is fallacy. Fallacy is the erroneous reasoning because it is solely based on intuitive feeling to form judgment and reasoning. So, in simple words, fallacy is any kind of error when we reason. So, fallacy involves rendering an argument invalid. So, bakit ba nagiging invalid ang isang argument? Because it involves distorting and manipulating of facts. So, when fallacy is used in reasoning, nag-i-involve to ng distorting and minamanipulate natin yung mga facts. Ang aim kasi ng fallacy is to distract the viewer, the listener, or yung kausap mo from the issue at hand. True beliefs or ideas na that may seem true, pero sa katotohanan or while in reality, yung mga ideas na finifeed mo to reason out is they are false because they are based solely on false or flawed arguments. So, may dala akong example ng fallacy for you to better understand how it works in real life. So, example dito is, right when I sneeze, the power went off. I must have caused the power outage. So, sabi dito is nung nag-sneeze ka daw, nawala daw yung power kasi kasalanan yun ng pag-sneeze mo. So, may kita mo doon na may error sa reasoning. Kasi dinidistort mo yung fact o kaya minamanipulate mo yung fact. Maaari naman kasing coincidence lang na when you sneeze, nawala ng power. Then, the next example na meron ako is, Mary wore her favorite necklace today and aced her spelling test. That necklace must be lucky. So, may kita nyo, nagdodraw tayo dito naman ng false conclusion. Kasi, hindi naman porket sinuot ni Mary yung favorite niyang necklace, ay nanalo na siya dun sa spelling test na sinalihan niya. So, these are two examples kung saan may kita natin kung paano ba nag-work yung fallacy in real-life scenario. Next is judgment and decision-making. Judgment and decision-making is used to select from among choices or to evaluate opportunities. So, when we do judgment and when we do decision-making, we consider various forms, di ba, ng reasoning. Hindi lang naman isang kino-consider natin to make better judgment and to decide about something. So, ang goal kasi ng reasoning is for you to draw conclusion na kung saan magbe-benefit ka. Kaya nga tayo nag-evaluate ng opportunities. Kaya nga tayo nagse-select from among choices. So, maraming options, maraming choices. So, may dalawang part itong judgment and decision making. Paano tayo nagka-come up na to? Una is yung inductively from evidence. So, inductively from evidence, ang meaning nito is, inductively, nagre-reason tayo from observation. So, from observation, sinusuportahan to ng mga patterns na nakikita natin based dun sa mga na-observe natin bago tayo mag-arrive sa isang hypothesis or theory. So, itong approach na to, itong inductive reasoning, tinatawag din siyang bottom-up. While ito namang pangalawa is what we call deductive reasoning, which is nag-uumpisa naman siya sa theory. Then, from theory, maghanap tayo ng supporting observation. Then, eventually, mag-arrive tayo sa isang confirmation based doon sa observation na nakita natin, which is ito naman tinatawag nating top-down. So, may example ako dito sa judgment and decision-making when it comes to inductive listening and deductive reasoning. Una is, bago tayo nag-come up with being a psych student, bago tayo nag-enroll, di ba, una muna is mapapaisip ka if gusto mo bang mag-pursue pa ng college after you graduated senior high school. So, that's the first step. Then, once na nasa college ka na, nasa registrar ka na, magde-decide ka pa rin naman kung anong course ba yung gusto mong i-take. Which is, in our case, we choose to take psychology. Then, later on naman is, binigyan tayo, di ba, ng choices kung anong mga courses, mga subject na gusto nating i-enroll kasama dun sa courses na pinili natin. So, dun mo makikita kung paano ka mag-form ng judgment and how will you decide on something. Next is classical decision theory. Itong CDT is the earliest model of making decision, and classical decision theory, it reflects the strengths of economic perspective. So, ba't ka nasabing it reflects the strength of economic perspective? Kasi itong CDT, ang nag-devise nitong theory na to is economists, mga statisticians, philosophers. So, hindi siya ginawa ng mga psychologists. Ang CDT ay hindi naka-base sa perspective ng psychologist. Kasi ang CDT is more on, nag-use siya ng mathematical models for human behavior. So, ang type niya ng pag-observe ng human behavior is gumagamit sila ng mathematical models. Then, CDT also assumes that yung decision, every decision na ginagawa mo as an individual should be completely rational and optimal. So, ibig sabihin nun, ang theory na tong ina-employ niya lang is, dun ka sa decision na kung saan ma-optimize mo, magkakaroon ka ng optimizing strategy na nagsisik to find the best possible alternative para makapag-maximize ka ng achievement mo sa goals mo. So, to further classical decision theory, meron siyang tinatawag na the model of economic man and woman. So, ito, under pa rin siya ng CDT, itong model na to. So, the model of economic man and woman is crafted in the 20th century, and this is where people optimize their decisions. So, eto. Merong tatlong steps kung saan magagamit mo process rather ang model of economic man and woman. So, unang-una dito is itong decision makers are fully informed regarding all possible options for their decisions and of all possible outcomes of their decisions options. So, simple lang ang pinapahiwatig nitong process 1. So, dapat ikaw as a decision maker, magkaroon ka ng awareness sa lahat ng possible options na pwede mong i-take. Then, consequence ng bawat options na pwede mong i-take. So, kung marami kang multiple options, dapat aware ka na yung bawat options na iti-take mo na yon is meron siyang kaakibat na consequence. Then, the next process of economic man and woman is they are infinitely sensitive to the subtle distinctions among decisions or choices yata yun. So, ito naman, simple lang din ang pinapatunguhan nito, which is you as the decision maker, familiar naman tayo, di ba, sa word na intuition kasi nadidiscuss naman siya sa Soksay. So, you must utilize that intuition or ano yung pakiramdam mo na best dun sa options. Kasi dito sa part na to, meron tinatawag na subtle distinctions. So, itong subtle distinctions na to is marami ka nga choices, pero yung mga choices na yun is magkakamukha sila So, nakakalito. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung best dun sa choices na meron ka. So, mahirap makapag-decide kasi almost the same Pero kaya nga, you have to use your intuitive gut feeling kasi kailangan mo maging sensitive dun sa mga marami mong choices kung ano dun yung para sa'yo, mas magbe-benefit ka. Mas marami kang benefit, mas marami kang achievement na makukuha. So, if all the options seems right, kung lahat sila all seems right, then ang gagawin mo is you should pick the best one. So, parang katulad lang to sa mga pates ni Sir Jomar, di ba, na halos lahat tama. Pero ang kailangan mong piliin is yung the best for your situation. Kasi ikaw yung nagde-decide. So, pick the choice that is best for your well-being. Then the next one is they are fully rational in regard to their choice of options. So, ang rational, ibig sabihin niya dito is magselect ka ng best option or course of action base sa isang careful consideration. So, makakonsider mo lang na careful consideration yung gagawin mong pagpili ng choice if logical, in-evaluate mo siya logically, kung ano ba yung magiging cost nito para sa'yo, ano naman yung magiging benefits nito para sa'yo, and ano yung mga risk na associated dun sa mga choices na pwede mong piliin. Next one is we have the assumption of infinite sensitivity. Assumption of infinite sensitivity is people can evaluate the difference between two outcomes, no matter how subtle the distinctions among options may be. So, dito sa assumption of infinite sensitivity, kailangan may skill ka to know which outcome is the best for you. So, merong maaring may scenario na halimbawa may one option ka lang. Sa isang option na yon, dalawa naman usually 'di ba ang outcomes na mangyayari. Pero sa dalawang outcomes na yon, sa tingin mo, saan ka mas magbe-benefit? Saan ka mas makaka-gain ng mas maraming gain? So, dito kasi sa assumption of infinite sensitivity is mag-a-assume ka ng maraming possible outcomes na pwedeng mangyari sa isang decision na gagawin mo. So, sa maraming outcomes na yun, mamimili ka lang ng isang single option to discover kung ano nga ba yung magbe-benefit ka na ending. Ano ba yung choice or option na kung saan gusto mo, ayun nang ma-achieve mo. Next is the assumption of rationality. Whatever that something may be, people make their choices to maximize something of value. So, example natin is suppose that you are a buyer of smartphone. So, meron ka ng ina-eye or may pinagpipilian ka ng dalawang brand ng phone na gusto mong bilhin. So, one is gusto mong bumili ng Android and the second one is if bibili ka ba ng iPhone, then before making that decision, you must consider every aspect of each phone. So, pa-consider mo ano ba yung spec ng iPhone na wala ang Android and ano din ba yung meron advantage ang Android na wala naman ng iPhone. Then, you will form an objective basis kung sa tingin mo kung saan sa dalawang phone na yon is ang mas favorable para sa'yo o mas convenient na gamitin mo. Then, when you come up with objective basis na parang gusto mo yata is accessible sa lahat ng apps in the form na gusto mo, yung mga application mo, kaya yung mga laro mo ay may mod which is hindi siya applicable if you choose iPhone, di ba? Kasi sa iPhone, you can only download certain apps sa App Store and mahirap ka mag-mod ng application compared sa Android. So, ayun, nagkaroon ka na ng objective basis. Then, nakita mo na rin kanina yung favorability ratings mo which is sa tingin mo kung ano yung mas convenient na gamitin mo, iPhone versus Android. Then, after you have formed that objective and favorability ratings, you as the shopper, syempre, bibilhin mo yung phone na tingin mo is best para sa'yo through the scoring na ginawa natin kanina based dun sa objective basis and based dun sa favorability ratings. So, itong assumption of rationality, may pagka-mathematical siya kasi i-rate mo yung dalawang options mo. Kung saan doon yung pinakamataas ang rating mo, ayun ang pipiliin mo. Doon ka pupunta sa option na yun. Kung saan may best score among those two options, ayun ang magiging decision mo. Doon ka magbe-base ng iyong decision. Next is subjective expected utility theory. So in this theory, it will be all about choosing options that brings pleasure or happiness than choosing options that will result in pain or suffering. Subjective utility is judge weightings of utility or value rather than on objective criteria. So, una-una dito, may tinatawag na tayong subjective utility. So, dito, mamimili ka ng magka-come up ka ng decision based sa utility or value ng isang option. So, itong subjective utility, hindi siya naka-base sa any objective criteria. So, depende to sa'yo kasi nga subjective siya. Depende sa'yo if sa tingin mo itong option na to is mas valuable compared dun sa option B or C or D. Then, dito rin sa theory na to, ang goal nito is for human actions to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So, ito nga yung sinasabi ko kanina na kung saan mas pipiliin mo yung option na nakapag-bring sa'yo ng pleasure or tinatawag nating happiness kaysa yung option na magre-result ng pain or suffering para sa'yo. Next is, it aims to maximize pleasure or referred to as positive utility. So, understandable naman to. Pipili ka ng option na kung saan maximize mo yung pleasure. Tinatawag ding positive utility yung maximizing of pleasure. Then next naman, kabaliktaran ng maximizing of pleasure is, of course, not choosing options that will bring us pain. Kung saan, pipiliin natin to minimize pain or referred to as negative utility. So, itong maximize and minimize, mayroon silang correlation. So, madali lang naman intindihan kasi maximize pleasure, positive utility na agad. When you want to minimize pain, then negative utility na agad siya. Then last is, subjective expected utility theory is, meron siyang subjective probability which estimates likelihood rather than an objective statistical computation. So, probability is ano yung tingin mo lang. Nag-estimate ka ng tingin mong mangyayari pag pinili mo tong options na to. So, again, subjective siya. So, naka-base lang siya sa yung personal knowledge. Naka-base siya sa subjective perspective mo lang to. Natingin mo, pag pinili mo tong options na to, maaring ito ang mangyayari. Pag hindi mo naman pinili tong options na to, ito yung masasayang. So, wala siyang objective statistical computation na criteria. Naka-base lang siya solely on your subjective experience. Subjective idea rather. Next is heuristics and biases. In heuristics and biases, you as a decision maker make a decision within a reasonable time frame, meaning you reduce the available information to a manageable amount. Or tinatawag din siyang mental shortcuts. So, dito kasi sa heuristics, nag-filter out ka lang ng information na kaya mong i-process para hindi ka na-overwhelmed. So, you filter out information. Kaya nga siya tinatawag na mental shortcuts eh. Kasi hindi naman siya magiging shortcuts if lahat ng information na pwede mong gamitin to choose an option is i-entertain mo eh. Pero itong heuristics is effective siya in achieving our goal. And at the same time, dinidecrease niya kasi yung efforts natin for us to examine fewer pieces of information. So, familiar naman tayo sa heuristics kasi alam ko na-discuss din to sa Soksay. So, basta pag heuristics is gumagamit tayo ng mental shortcuts because we reduce the available information into a manageable amount para agad makapag-come out, makakapag-come up tayo ng decision. Then furthermore, heuristic. Ayun nga, heuristic again is a mental shortcuts because it lightens the cognitive load of making decisions. Example ng heuristic is, let's assume nasa grocery store ka and nagudong ka sa aisle ng mga snacks. And you are presented with a variety of options kasi maraming brand doon ng snacks na pwede mong itry. But since you are using heuristics here to make a decision, to make judgment among a variety of options, you will simplify the decision by choosing the snack, the brand of snack na kung saan na-try mo na dati, na alam mo masarap, kaysa mag-try ng ibang brand ng snack na ngayon mo palang matatry for the first time. So that's the example of heuristic in real-life scenario. Next is satisficing. Satisficing is the notion of unlimited rationality. It is bounded rationality as well, or we are rational pero within limits. Kaya nga bounded rationality. Then, satisficing, consider options one by one, select an option that is satisfactory or just good enough to meet minimum level of acceptability. So, in other words, itong satisficing is maghahanap ka ng strategy na mag-work para ma-achieve mo yung isang certain goal. Even if yung strategy na maiisip mo is hindi siya effective or hindi siya sufficient strategy. Pero basta enough na siya para ma-achieve mo yung isang goal, gagamitin mo tong strategy na to because you are satisficing. So, enough na sa'yo, satisfied ka na for you to select an option na satisfactory lang kahit hindi siya enough. Basta ang mahalaga is ma-achieve mo yung goal mo. So, may dalawang klase daw tayo ng tao na gumagamit nitong satisficing to make judgment and decision. Unang-una is yung tinatawag nating maximizers, which is consider every single option before choosing the best one. So, dito sa maximizer is, ikino-consider niya lahat ng option bago siya pipili ng isang decision. Dito naman sa satisficer is consider options until they have found one that is enough or that is good enough for them. So, kabaliktaran ng maximizer ang satisficer. Kasi itong satisficer is, pag nakita niya na yung isang option na good enough for him or for her, pipiliin niya na agad. Titigil na siya doon. Hindi na siya magbabrowse ng iba pang option. Kumbaga, pag nasatisfied na siya sa option na nakita niya, kahit unang option pa lang yun among 5 options, ayun na agad ang pipiliin niya. Hindi siya katulad ng maximizer na if they are presented with 5 options, bawat isa sa 5 options na yun, i-consider niya yun. Sa satisficer, even if they are presented with the first option pa lang out of 5, ayun agad ang pipiliin nila if the first option already satisfied them. So, example ng satisficing is, nag-iisip kang bumili ng kotse. So, depending on which strategy you employ, nasa iyo yun kung maghahanap ka na ba ng potential car na gusto mo, maghahanap ka sa bawat brand ng potential car na gusto mo, or kaya pipiliin mo na yung car brand na gusto mo na talaga, hindi ka na magta-try ng iba. So, ayun yung option mo if you are buying a car. So, makikita mo dito yung pag-maximize or pagsasatisfy, which is, itatry mo lahat ng brand ng cars. So, bago ka pumili ng car na bibilhin mo, o kaya naman, meron ka na talagang car brand in your mind na gusto mo, kaya hindi ka na titingin sa ibang brand, ayun na agad yung bibilhin mo. Anong pipiliin mo na lang is model ng car brand na nasa isip mo. Next is elimination by aspects. In elimination by aspect is you eliminate alternatives by focusing on aspects of each alternative, meaning one at a time instead of mentally manipulating all the weighted attributes of all the available options. Dito sa elimination by aspects is when you are presented with a lot of option, nag-eliminate ka ng alternatives hanggang sa mag-come up ka na lang ng isang option na pipiliin mo. So, ang process ng elimination by aspect is one at a time mag-eliminate ka. Imbes na sabay-sabay mo siyang i-consider yung every option na yun, one at a time, or iisa-isahin mo yung options na meron ka. So, halimbawa nito is, meron kang 5 option, you will eliminate these 5 options by focusing on one option. So, sa option 1, ano ba yung magiging risk, ano ba yung magiging benefits mo, and if hindi to na satisfying enough sa'yo, i-eliminate mo siya. Then that means 4 na lang magiging option mo. Then ganun din gagawin mo sa option 2, 3, 4, 5 hanggang sa ma-eliminate mo na ma-eliminate yung option. Hanggang ang matira na lang na option sa'yo is yung isang option na lang na kung saan tingin mo satisfied ka na sa option na yun para ayun ang piliin mo. Process of elimination. So, unang process natin to help you eliminate alternative is for you to focus on one aspect or attribute of the various options. So, example nito is the cost of going to college. So, pipili ka ng college na kung saan ang tuition fee dapat is afford mo. The next process is for you to form a minimum criterion for that aspect. So, hindi lang basta college na fit sa finances mo yung pipiliin mo, magkakaroon ka na ng criterion or my criteria. So, halimbawa, ang criteria mo, objective criteria mo is dapat ang tuition fee sa college na yon is no more and no less than 20,000 pesos. Then, the next process is for you to eliminate all options that do not meet that criterion. So, halimbawa is may dalawang college kang pinag-iisipan, Stanford or Harvard University. So, example lang naman to. So dahil lang Stanford University is 30,000 pesos ang ino-offer niyang tuition for that course na gusto mo, i-eliminate mo na yung Stanford. Mas pipiliin mo na yung Harvard kasi ang in-offer lang ng Harvard na tuition fee is 19,500. Then, next is for you to select a second aspect for which we set a minimum criterion by which to eliminate additional options. So, magdadagdag ka ng panibagong criterion dun bukod sa 20,000 or 20,000 under lang yung tuition fee. So, halimbawa, ang criterion pa na dinagdag mo is dapat yung college na yon is malapit lang sa inyo or ang college na yon is no more than 30 minutes ang biyahe from your home to the university. So, makikita mo dito na by focusing on one aspect and then by having criterion, sa dami-dami ng options na pinesent sa'yo na pwede mong pagpasukan sa college, nai-eliminate siya one by one hanggang sa matira na lang yung mga options na kung saan pasok siya sa objective na gusto mong puntahan pero at the same time, hindi pa not there yet. Hanggang sa mapunta tayo sa option na dalawa na lang ang pagpipilian mo, dalawang alternative na lang ang pagpipilian mo, kung saan mas madali kang mag-eliminate ng option na kung saan based pa rin siya sa criteria mo, hanggang matira na lang sa dalawang yon is yung isang option that fully meet your criteria. So, dito sa elimination by aspect is, patuloy mong gagamitin tong 4 processes na to na nasa screen ko. Hanggang sa umunti ng umunti yung options na meron ka. Kaya ka nga nag-eliminate eh. So, eliminate ka ng eliminate, based dito sa mga criteria na meron ka, based dito sa mga aspect or attribute na hinahanap ka, hanggang sa may matira ka na lang single option for you to decide upon. Next is using probabilities to make decisions. So, using probabilities to make decision is conditional probability, which is the likelihood of one event given another. So, this is based on Bayes' theorem or the formula for calculating conditional probabilities. So, itong conditional using probabilities, it is not often used to make decision kasi napaka-complex niya. Gagamit ka pa ng probabilities bago ka maka-come up or makapag-choose ng option for you to make a decision. May kita niyo naman dito sa screen, meron pa tayong tinatawag na conditional probability, which is yung likelihood nga na pag pinili mo tong event na to, ayun yung maaaring mangyari. So, kahit ako, personally, medyo nalilito ako dito sa Bayes' theorem na to. So, what I did is, nag-search na lang ako ng maaring simplified example for all of us na maintindihan natin what it means to use probabilities when making decision. So, may example tayo dito. That you are finding the probability of a team scoring better in the next match. So, ito si Team A. Sa first match nila, meron kasi silang coach which is just a regular college coach. So, ayun lang ang coach nila for the first match. Regular college coach. Then, on Team A's second match, nagkaroon sila ng coach that is a former Olympian or coach na dating nag-participate sa London Olympics. Then, from these two matches is, hahanapin mo yung probability ng Team A na mas mataas ang naging score nila nitong second match compared doon sa probability na mas mataas yung score ng Team A sa kanilang first match. So once again, this using probabilities to make decision or judgment is very complex. That's why hindi siya mas pinipiling gamitin. Next is representativeness heuristic. So, representativeness heuristic is how obviously it is similar to our representative of the population from which it is derived. Then, the degree to which it reflects the salient features of the process by which it is generated. And lastly, it is the judgment based on how well the characteristic of a small sample represents the whole population. Sa representativeness heuristic is, nag-estimate tayo ng probability ng isang event based on how similar yung event na yun sa isang situation na maaring na-experience na natin dati or narinig na natin. So, in other words, dito sa representativeness heuristics, nagko-compare tayo ng isang situation, ng isang idea, or even stereotype na kung saan galing na sa memory natin, kung saan personally nakita na natin, na-experience na natin, or natatandaan natin from memory. So, example na itong representativeness heuristics is, just because you see someone na may suot na tie, suit and tie, then nagki-carry pa siya ng briefcase, ma-associate na agad natin tong tao na to na they must be a lawyer. Kasi, stereotypically, they look like a lawyer eh. Even though, hindi natin sigurado if talaga bang lawyer siya. So, example pa nitong representative heuristics na to is tinatawag nating man-who argument is being highly aware of the anecdotal evidence based on a very small sample of the population. For example, nitong man-who argument is, you are having a conversation about coronary disease. And may magsasabi dyan na, I know a man who, na may ganito ring disease. Or meron din namang sasabat dyan na, me too, I know a man who. So, ganun, iikot yung conversation about sharing a person or sharing a similar event na kung saan ibibida mo tong man who or kilala kong tao na ganito. We also have this term base rate here, which is referring to the prevalence nga ng event or characteristics within its population of events. So, para mas madali na nating maintindihan what is base rate is, suppose there is a doctor, then one day, may nagpa-check up sa kanyang 10-year-old boy dito sa doctor. And ang complaint netong 10-year-old boy is that he is experiencing chest pains. So, in this scenario, yung doctor, although concerned siya about the complaint of this boy, hindi ganun kataas yung worry niya about the chest pains of this 10-year-old boy compared sa another patient na lumapit sa kanya, another patient that is 60 years old na nagko-complain na masakit din yung, may nakakaramdam din siya ng chest pain. So, bakit mas mataas yung magiging worry ng doktor dun sa 60-year-old man compared dun sa 10-year-old boy? Kasi nga, ang base rate natin dito is mas prevalent ang heart attack sa mga matatanda na compared sa mga bata pa. Much higher yung probability na maaaring magkaroon ng heart attack itong 60-year-old man complaining of chest pain compared sa probability na magkaroon ng heart attack yung 10-year-old boy complaining of chest pain as well. Next is availability heuristics. So this is judgment on the basis of how easily we can call to mind what we perceive as relevant instances of a phenomenon or observed in regard to everyday situations. Example na to ang availability heuristic is, nakapanood ka last night ng isang plane crash. So, the next day, meron ka kasing trip. Dahil dun sa napanood mong plane crash last night sa news, you decided na mag-car ride ka na lang kaysa mag-book ng flight papunta sa certain destination. Kasi sa tingin mo, mas safe na pakapunta ka sa destination na yon by car rather than by plane. Although sa katotohanan talaga, based on probability, is yung likelihood of dying in a car accident is mas mataas kesa naman sa likelihood na mamatay ka as a passenger sa isang airplane. So, you make a decision, nakita natin dito na you make a decision based lang siya sa observation mo in regard to everyday situation. Dahil ayun yung recently na na-observe mo, magbe-base ka na agad ng decision mo doon, magbe-base ka na agad ng judgment mo doon. Then, anchoring and adjustment heuristic is people adjust their evaluations of things by means of certain reference points called and anchors. Itong anchoring, most common use na to sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay is this. And I'm very sure na na-experience nyo tong anchoring na to. Remember sale discounts. Mga discounts or sales sa mall pag nagpupunta ka. Nakikita mo to every Christmas. Basta yung mga holiday season, you see sales and discounts. Naka-display na yan sa labas ng mga establishment sa loob ng mall. So, yung original price ng isang, sabihin natin, t-shirt, ayun yung nagsiserve na anchor. Ito yung tinatawag nating anchor, yung original price. And yung discounted price naman ng t-shirt na yon, ayun naman yung parang manghihikayat sa atin na parang gusto ko tong bilhin kasi discounted na to eh. Halimbawa, 10% off. Although, sa totoo lang, makakasave ka nga, pero hindi naman ganun kalaki yung masasave mo. So, ayun lang yun. Ito yung tinatawag nating certain reference points na anchor, which is yung pinagbabasihan natin ng decision bago natin kunin yung isang option na yon. Kasi nag-base muna tayo dito sa anchor na to, sa criteria na to, para makita natin yung isang option na hindi naman ganun kasama. Parang yung option na to suddenly hindi siya ganun hindi siya ganun ka-risky. Kasi mayroon tayong tinitingnan na criterion, may tinitingnan tayong anchor na pagbe-basean natin. If kukunin natin tong decision na to, mas marami ba tayong gain o wala? Pero in the sense na sales or discounts, ayun nga, nakatingin tayo sa original price na anchor, na tingin natin, pag binili natin to sa discounted price is, hindi siya ganun ka worthless of a decision. Next is framing. Framing is simply the way that the options are presented influence the selection of an option, or to choose options that demonstrate risk aversion when we are faced with an option involving potential gains. Example ng framing is this. Suppose that you were told 600 people is nasa risk sila of dying because of a particular disease. So, may 600 people na nasa deathbed because of a certain disease. So, may dalawang vaccine na inintroduce ang doctor. Unang vaccine, sabi ng doctor is, vaccine A, it could save the lives of 200 people na nasa deathbed. So, 200 people out of 600 ang kayang isave na itong vaccine A. While itong si vaccine B naman is may likelihood na 33% na lahat ng 600 people na yon that is contaminated with this disease could be saved. Pero, at the same time, may 56% ng likelihood na yung 600 people na yon ay mamamatay din. So, ngayon, nasa yung option if what vaccine would you choose to take para dun sa 600 people na yun at risk of dying because of a particular disease. So, dito sa framing, ang pinipunto lang nito is, when we make judgment, when we choose options, we make decisions daw based sa option na kung saan nag-offer siya ng small but certain gain kesa dun sa option na larger nga yung gain, pero larger nga, pero uncertain naman yung gain. Next is biases. First one ng biases is the illusory correlation. This is predisposition to see particular events or attributes and categories as going together even when they do not. So, itong illusory correlation is, halimbawa, may individual na merong bad experience sa isang lawyer. So, kaya ina-assume nila lahat ng lawyer na may encounter nila, lalapitan nila is katulad ng lawyer na na-hire nila dati, which is a bad experience. So, ganun lang kasimple yung illusory correlation. Nag-i-initiate siya ng spurious cause-effect relationship. Kung saan, nagkakaroon tayo ng spurious thinking na kung saan porket itong bad experience natin sa isang event or sa isang person, magiging same siya sa person or event na currently na-experience natin ngayon. Lastly is overconfidence. So this is wherein an individual's overvaluation of her or his own skills. So in other words, madali namang intindihin na overconfidence is ito yung mga type of thinking or personality that is borderline narcissistic or kaya masyado mong ino-overvaluate yung halaga mo or yung ideas mo compare dun sa ah, iba. So, dito sa overconfidence, meron lang siyang tinatawag din na my side bias, kung saan people tend to be biased in favor to their own attitude. Magiging bias sila dahil para sa kanila, mas pinipilit nilang mas tama tong ganito, mas tama tong belief nilang ganito. Kaya nga siya tinawag na my side bias. So, part din siya ng overconfidence kasi mas ino-overvalue mo yung side mo. So, that is all for my report. Thank you for listening.